Shout out to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, the online learning community for creatives. Part of the reason why I started making videos around photography tools and techniques came from the feeling that most of what I was watching never quite answered the questions I had as a creator. As manufacturers raced competitively with spec sheets, we witnessed the rise of surface level reviews that featured mediocre images and uninspiring voiceovers, which is confusing because creative tools we have at our hands today are nothing short of inspiring, and in some cases, they're game changers. Well, not only did I want to make reviews with stunning images and meaningful dialogue, I also wanted to revisit some cameras after months of rigorous use and tell a more holistic story. And well, after over a year with the Fujifilm X-T4, I have another one of these stories to share. Welcome to another long-term review.
But God might be on vacation, and the promised land they ain't never promised. My baby telling me to be patient, but the devil always working overnight, my darling.
There are cameras for work and there are cameras for pleasure. The Fujifilm X-T4 is a camera for work that is a pleasure to use. It's not something you'd buy entirely as this niche luxury experience, but the way it's put together allows the robust feature set to really shine through in a way that feels pleasurable. After 14 months of using this primarily as a video production tool and also as a secondary photography camera, the biggest thing that sticks out to me was how I could count on this camera when it mattered most. The buttons and dials held up incredibly well and feel as good as the day I got them, which, something that may be a concern when people look at the fact that this camera is made in China and not Japan, but I'll tell you, it still works phenomenally well. Even in unpredictable situations, the X-T4 seemed unfazed. Now you couple this with the fact that the camera can do so much, you can't help but feel empowered. The Fujifilm X-T4 is a workhorse. You can shoot images up to 30 frames per second, blackout free, capture 4K video up to 60p in F-Log, or get wild and make your own crazy profiles off a solid library of film simulations. All of these things coming together make this such a versatile creative tool that's almost makes it a shame that it had to come out so soon after the Fujifilm X-T3. You see, because of the success of that camera, the X-T4 didn't seem to get as much fanfare, but there's still enough here to prioritize it for many enthusiasts and professionals, most notably the image stabilization. This camera promises up to 6.5 stops of image stabilization in the field, and during my time with it, it felt incredibly capable and valuable to have. There were plenty of times where I could drop the shutter speed down and still get a sharp image. Now, couple this with the new battery and improved ergonomics, you have a brilliant camera that allows you to capture more and more often. What's great about the X-T4 is you can build it out how you like. For example, you can throw on a half leather case like the ones I have here and make it a bit more classic for your street adventures. Or you can go way left field and build out a video rig that is meant for professional productions. The potential here really feels almost limitless. Oh, and these half leather cases, they were provided to me by Moment. They're made by Oberwerth and they feel fantastic. There's even a magnetic latch to access the battery without having to remove the case itself. And well, I have actually 2 of them and I'd love to share them with you. So let me know if you have an X-T4 and you want this case, just let me know in the comments below and I'll pick 2 people at random, probably by the end of the month, and I'll let you guys know in the comments when I've picked them. Now, anyways, let's get back to the review. Being able to rig this camera into a full-on video monster was one of the great creative joys last year. Capturing 10-bit 422 video in a Cinema S package feels great in the field and also lets your client know that you mean business. There are times for the Red Gemini and there are times in other projects where they're a few degrees below that. But in those situations, rolling up with an X-T4 rig would put many clients at ease. And let's be honest, it's silly that that's how our brain works, that when we see this full-on rig with a matte box and monitor, all of a sudden we're impressed and feels more professional. But that's just kind of the reality of it. And seriously, investing a good amount of dollars around your camera is a risky proposition because it means you're committing to something for the long run. However, the video quality you can pull from this camera is incredible. Shooting in f-log gives you a file that I believe is easier to grade and color match than several other manufacturers. And the built-in Eterna simulation is great for faster workflows where the lighting is controlled and you just want to be able to grade it quickly. All in all, this camera is a powerhouse on two fronts. Now, with that said, I know some of you are wondering, after all this time, are there any things that hold this camera back? Yeah. All right, we're gonna get back to the production. This video, I have to give a quick shout out to Skillshare. They have sponsored this production, and they are one of the best online platforms for furthering your learning. Listen, with the pandemic and lockdowns and restrictions, we have newfound time to potentially invest in ourselves, and going to Skillshare.com is one of the easiest ways to really further your creative journey. I recently signed up for Andre Wagner's class. He is an amazing documentary street photographer, and some of his content, well, it was just easy to implement. It was great to hear a different artist really sharing their insight in how they approach their work. And you get a ton of this. And here's the thing, it's not just this online learning that you're joining, you're really joining a community. So my thanks to Skillshare. Be sure to check out the link in the description because the first 1,000 people that sign up will have access to the premium trial at Skillshare. So once again, check out the link in the description. My thanks to them for sponsoring this video. There are some rational problems with this camera, and then there are things that might be more irrational because not everyone might feel the same way I do. Let's look at the rational side. The micro HDMI port is a terrible port to ship nowadays for a flagship mirrorless solution. My port has not failed on me, but it does wiggle, and some instances the port actually disconnects. I've had the cable pop out on some occasions as well. It doesn't happen enough to make it a critical issue, but I gotta say, when you're looking at the successor to the Fujifilm X-T4, it needs to adopt a full-size HDMI port. Next is the menu system. While it can be easier to navigate than others, the still movie mode also makes it easier and cleans up the menu because you're not seeing everything. I really believe that this overall menu system can be further triaged to make the onboarding experience for new users a lot easier. In fact, I actually designed a new layout for what this menu system could look like in the future, and I'm debating about making a video about it as well. But in short, this menu system can get better, and I hope that that's on the priority list for the successor of this camera. Now let's talk about some less rational things. The X-T4 got a noticeable upgrade with the flip out display, and it's great for times I want to record myself, like right now. But this is not a great user experience when you're working behind the camera. Having your attention down and to the left feels unnatural, especially with respect to photography. I would love to see this change into something that's more like the Panasonic S1H, where it can tilt up, but also flip out to the side. I would venture to argue that more people would like this than continuing with this traditional flip out display. Lastly, and I think this is gonna happen regardless, but I'll say it anyways, I'd love to see the successor of this camera take a noticeable leap in autofocus and video functionality. While I firmly believe that this camera outperforms 90% of the people that will use it, I love the idea of raising the ceiling and Fujifilm really making a bold offering for enthusiasts and pros. Again, I think it'll happen anyways, but I'd love to see them benchmark in a few key metrics and not just match what the competition is doing. So, where have I landed with this camera? Well, I actually told you at the beginning of this video, there are cameras for work and there are cameras for pleasure. The Fujifilm X-T4 is a camera for work that is a pleasure to use. If you're wondering whether this may be the right camera for you, I'd encourage you to look at my initial review and surrounding content around the X-T4. But the simple answer is that a camera like this may arguably have a higher ceiling than you. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. What I'm trying to say is that most people won't push this on both ends of the spectrum, and therefore will have a really robust tool that should give you plenty of confidence to do what you need to do. There are some minor things that may lock this out as a camera solution for some people, but I'd argue that most of the reasons you wouldn't get an X-T4 is because other cameras in the Fujifilm family, like the X-T3 and XS10, are such great value. However, for those that are searching for a do-it-all solution that is affordable, value-packed, and surrounded by an ecosystem of great lenses, accessories, well, the Fujifilm X-T4 will not disappoint you. And there you have it. That is my long-term review of the Fujifilm X-T4. It has been a pleasure to use this thing. It has been a phenomenal return on my investment. It has not failed me in a major way, and it's something that I still find joy in using, and that's what's recording all of these videos right now. If you have any more questions or just want to continue the dialogue, let me know in the comments below. I read all of your comments. As always, my name's Gajan. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.